DC Multiverse!
Well, I've done it again. I said I wasn't sure if I was going to review these other figures, but here they are on the review bench in front of you. So I guess I'm reviewing them. I did tell you that I like the Robin King and the Wonder Woman, so I'm glad to have those two. And I figured, well, if I'm going to review those two, I might as well go the full 9 yards and bring Batman into the picture. That way we could at least put together the collect-to-build Dark Farther. So, let's do it. Now, I've done you all the favor, as you can see, of removing all these figures out of their packaging off camera. That way you're not stuck looking at the boxes, because, let's face it, we all know what the box art's gonna look like. And because my review on these action figures is so late, it makes more sense to just cut straight to the figures, which you're currently looking at. Now, the Robin King figure comes with the trading card, as you can see here. Obviously the same as the back of the box. Here's the bio on the back. He's probably one of the most interesting characters out of this entire series. And as you can see, he comes with the torso for the collect-to-build Dark Farther. That and a figure stand and 2 extra hands. And then we have Wonder Woman. She comes also with a trading card that has an image of the figure on the front of it that's also the same as the back of the box. The Wonder Woman trading card, as like the rest of them, also has a bio on the back you can pause to read if you'd like to, as well as her magical chainsaw and a figure stand, as well as the head and cape to the collect-to-build Dark Farther. And then we have the Batman, a figure that is exactly the same as the previous release as far as I could tell, only this one comes with a sweet scythe guitar. And as you can see, he comes with a trading card with an image of the figure on the front and a short bio on the back, which you can pause to read if you'd like. And let's not forget that he's got the figure base and the legs to the collect-to-build Dark Farther. Okay, now let's take a look at each one of them individually, starting with Robin King. And could he be any more goth? Look at this dude. He's got these uber creepy green and purple feathers around the top of his cape there, just like in the source material. These are really fantastically done. There's so many of them. They're a nice soft rubber. He's also got his bird nest crown because, you know, like he's a king and a king's got to have a crown, sitting on top of his chainmail hat. Here's a nice close look at Robin King's incredibly ornate gauntlet claw hands. These are so well done, and I feel like what would bring out the details in these even more would be some kind of a wash over top of them. Either a black wash, or maybe, I don't know, a lighter green or something. This cheeky looking young face looks like some sort of offspring between a mime and the Crow. And it really captures the look that he had in the original source material of Dark Knight's death metal. And although it's absolutely clear that you can see that this Robin shares the tunic and the upper arm portions and even the upper leg portions with the original release of Damien, they do in fact have completely different boots, with Robin King's feet actually being a little bit bigger, like a lot bigger. And then finally the cape. Even though I'm not a fan of having quite this much of the texture of the actual fabric showing, it's still fantastically made. I hope the light is actually catching all of these subtle wrinkles in his cape back here. So all in all, this is a really fantastic rendition of the character. And then we move on to the battle princess herself, Wonder Woman. And this figure is just stellar. And although this iteration of Wonder Woman is clearly not my favorite, this is certainly a fantastic rendition and Todd's best Wonder Woman to date, in my opinion. I'm going to start right off with her face sculpt and the paint details and say she looks pretty darn good. Her headset that she's wearing looks fantastic, nicely detailed, eyes painted on nicely. You got the blue highlights in the hair that have been done well. Right around the back here, just like that. This is a really, really great Wonder Woman face sculpt. But the rest of the figure is actually very cool too, because you've got these shoulder pauldrons that are skulls that are just fantastically sculpted. Same thing for these wrist gauntlets. These came out really, really nice as well. I really like these. And then we have her battle bodice, which looks really, really good. The paint is perhaps a little bit sloppy and not where it's supposed to be in certain areas, but this is a mass-produced figure, and at least it's not the face. Hi. Now the lower half of her armor here, the skirt area, it's a softer rubber. This is all actually one piece, but it's really, really well done. And then her thigh highs up here, going all the way down to her boots here. Oh wow, this is so well done. This is a fantastic sculpt. I don't actually think there's any shading whatsoever in these, but I don't think you need it because the way the light hits the gold, it just brings out all of the different details in the gold painted objects on her suit. Here's a close-up of Wonder Woman's invisible chainsaw. I mean, although you can clearly see it. And she had to sacrifice the invisible jet to make this bad boy. With it, she seemingly kills the Batman who laughs, except for she doesn't. he just turns into something worse. Well done, though. This is fantastic. This is probably one of my favorite McFarlane accessories. But I do kind of wish they had paid a little bit more close attention to the detail for the color scheme on the base of the chainsaw, making the paint scheme just a little bit more comic book accurate. Basically, the whole thing, as you can see, has just been painted gold. But it's a mass-produced piece for mass retail, so I feel like this is as good as it was going to get. And then, of course, we have the Batman, of which I've already actually reviewed, so I'm not going to go into the figure that much. There's just no need for it. Just know that for the most part, this is exactly the same figure. There is a little bit of slight variance as far as how shiny or matte the bat is on each one of their chests, and the gray tone is a little bit different. But we're really dealing with the exact same figure here. Personally, I still prefer the original release better. And one nitpick about this Batman is that clearly something happened at the factory when the plastic was still soft, or maybe the paint was wet. I'm not exactly sure what happened here, but you can clearly tell that his coat at one point was over top of these scuffs. And then the coat was removed, and now we have these ugly scuffs. But this here, this soft, squishy, bright, red electric guitar, well, this is the real reason why everybody wanted this Batman. I do wish that the neck was a little bit less skishy, but I think I understand why it's like that. It's because this is sold in the children's toy aisle, and they probably made it softer for safety reasons. Then again, maybe not, because the scythe was a little bit more firm and solid. Technically, both Batman figures actually came with a scythe, because this is a scythe guitar. And how many guitar pickups does this thing possibly need? It's got 5. And a whammy bar. And 4 really inconveniently placed knobs. Kudos to Todd, though. It is actually 6 strings. And look at that headstock. The tuners are all up the back, and you got this big, long, yellow tongue face sticking out. Rah! This bad boy needs to be airbrushed on the side of a van in the 1980s because it's really cool looking. Now, I'm just going to skip over the articulation segment altogether with this one, and I think we all pretty much get the gist of how McFarlane figures are articulated. Some very good, some not so good, but we know where all the articulation points are in general. Okay, and with all that said and done and out of the way, you know what time it is. It's time to build the Dark Father. And here we have the collect to build Dark Father. Honestly, before I go any further, I will tell you that when you're putting this guy together, you may actually want to put a dab of super glue right here where the cape connects to the torso and also to the back, because it just keeps on popping off. That is definitely a thing with this guy. But overall, for a figure based on a character who was only in 1 issue before he quickly met his end, and also even though I wasn't super excited about this figure in general, now that he's built, I think he's pretty cool. The texturing on the bat on his chest, great big fat chunky utility belt, Dark Father with the outside undies, with just above the armor. Why wouldn't you want the armor to go all the way down just in case he gets kicked in the dark balls? These spiky gauntlets are actually quite hard. They're not soft. I actually poked myself a little bit with them. You got that really thick cape texturing, and for Dark Father, I feel like it kinda actually works. Heck, even his pants have texture to them. I know, I harp on about texture a lot, I talk about it a lot, but I really think that's one of those fine details that actually makes the figure of a better quality. And these boots right here, they're all Darkseid. These totally look like something Darkseid would wear. And I think I actually will do Dark Father's articulation. Ball-jointed head. Torso is actually quite wibbly, but I really want to know what you can get with that rounded ball joint that looks like an ab crunch, but it's not. Not a super articulated torso, I would say. You got the butterfly doohickey, you got the bicep swivels. I want to know what these elbows will do. Let's crunch these 90 degrees. Well, I suppose it's better than nothing. You got the typical McFarlane groin, even though this is a collect to build. And Dark Father does have double jointed knees that crunch up really well for the size. He's also got a fair amount of the round and round motion up here. And of course he's got those rounded hinges in the ankles, and they're going to offer a pretty darn good range of motion, as well as having the toe articulation there. And, oh, they're gray on the inside. I wasn't expecting that. Although I also wasn't expecting the bottom of his boots to be so detailed. These look like the bottom of runners. Like Trax running shoes from the 90s and 80s. Boogity, 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 boogity. And Dark Father's face, well, it really just looks like Darkseid put on a Batman costume for Halloween. So I suppose now that we're here at the end of the video, it would make sense that I would give my final opinions on this wave. And I'll be brief. So I would give this wave probably a solid 7.5 out of 10. There have definitely been better waves in McFarlane's Multiverse line. This one's not the worst though. That Robin King and the Wonder Woman really elevate the score. The Superman figure was a valiant attempt, at least until they got to the head sculpt. And the Batman is, well, it's the Batman. We know what we're getting because we've already bought this one before. But anyway, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Hopefully you found this video to be an interesting, insightful, useful, entertaining waste of time for the day, and I will see you in the next one. Have a DC day, everybody, and take care.